So, Rob, are there capacities that all of us have that, aren't specific to one particular person, but, kind of like a general capacity that we have?
Yeah, I think in light of the promise, right, what God's doing, we can create our own little to-do list, and that we are called to three things like love, spiritual formation, and good works. That we are all called to love others. Jesus was talking in Luke 10, and he was quoting when he was asked, like, what's the most important command? And he said, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and all your strength, and with your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. And so our call in this is to love God and to love others. That's a call that all of us have regardless. There's not going to be like, well, God called me to be an airline pilot, but to not love people. If you're not loving people, like, you're wrong. You don't get to bench this one and sit this one out.
It's very difficult sometimes to love people, especially, just day in, day out, complete strangers. Like, they impact your life, whether you want them to or not. And a lot of times it's a bad impact. But that, I think, is one of those things where the transformation and doing the work, growing closer to God, you learn to have compassion for people. You learn to love people. It's not something you're going to be great at, and it's not something that's always easy. It's something that takes work to truly love people.
Yeah, and I don't think that means that we don't have boundaries around toxic people, but we are called to love them. So even boundaries around toxic people, well, I'm not going to talk bad about them to other people, right? I've created a boundary where they can't hurt me, but I've also created a boundary that I'm not going to retaliate against them. And that's how we go about loving. And I can love God and love others. That's our first challenge. Our second capacity that we all have is the call to spiritual formation, and that we are all called to grow in our faith. Paul's writing in Romans 8, he said, for those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to become conformed to the image of his son, so that he could be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. And so we get hung up on the foreknew and the predestined stuff, as some of my Calvinist brothers and sisters do. But I think the reality is that, like, people who aren't called, aren't predestined, don't worry about that question, right? Like, so if you're worried about, am I called or not? Like, yeah, you're called because you're worried about that. And so, but you were called to be conformed to the image of his son. So you have to take steps in growing. It does not happen accidentally. And there has to be steps that you take to be deliberate about that. As much as you grow in other skills in your life and are developing that, you must treat it the same way with your spiritual formation. Yes, there's part that God takes control and does that, but we cooperate with him in that process. And then the last capacity is this call to good works. Paul's writing again in Ephesians 2. He says, for we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand so that we could walk in them. So there's work set out in front of us, but again, it's a misconception to think like, oh, that means my job, that my job was set out, that there's one specific job I'm supposed to do. No, this is just good works, things you can do for your neighbor, for your family, for your friends, for your enemy. How do I go do good among them? So how do I love those around me? How do I grow in my faith? And how do I do good works? And again, none of this stuff can be done in our own power, but these shape ultimately how we do our work. So take your job and then look it through a kind of 3-glass, set of binoculars, right? That you're looking real close at it, that it's love, spiritual formation, good works. How do I look at what I'm currently doing that's paying my bills? That how do I love those who are around me, those who the business is serving, those who are working for the business, those who report to me and those who I report to? How do I love them and show them who God is? Growth, spiritual formation. God, what are you trying to teach me in my role currently? Whether I love it or hate it, what are you trying to teach me? And what do I need to learn in this moment? because this will not last forever. You will quit, be fired, or get promoted or demoted, right? Like something will happen. This will not last forever. So what is it that he's trying to teach you in this moment? And then finally, good works. Like, what are the things you can do? And we're not talking about kissing your boss's butt or anything like that. Like, what is the good that you can do to love on those around you, that to go the extra mile, to serve the people in your business, in your company, to serve your customers, to serve your boss? How do you do good works for God in that moment that it's not about you? Because again, our calling isn't about employment, but is about how we live for God, how we love for God, how we grow in Christ, and how we do good works.